G5 jet. I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Welcome back, eSIM Studios live stream. My name is Taylor Bell. I am the host and producer and founder of the eSIM Studios YouTube channel. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. Happy Sunday afternoon / evening, maybe Monday morning. No matter where you're watching this, we are live. It is May the 3rd, 2026, and we're going to have a little special edition Sunday evening for some tech topics, discussions. Came across, every day I look at the tech news, the tech world, see what's going on, see what people are talking about, and I continually coming across seeing stories in regards to memory, RAM, Intel, stock prices blowing up. And there's even some stories that made the headlines that didn't directly talk about memory, but it's indirectly affected by memory. And we're going to get right to it. But let me share this link here for social media. Let everybody know that I'm live at the moment. And we shall get started. So how is everybody doing? How is the audio? Is the audio okay? I think I got the audio stuff worked out, I think. Let me double check here. Let me open up my stream and check the audio. Yeah, it sounds all right. Does it sound good to you? How's the audio? Hey, what's going on, man? Appreciate you joining us today. Turn it up a bit. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me go to my settings. Audio. Testing 1 2 3. Let me go to my computer audio and we will see here. System audio, sound, microphone. Let's make sure it's turned up all the way. Testing. Maybe I can turn it up even a little more on the StreamYard side. Put it up to 166%. So hopefully that's good. Let's see. Testing. Got a new camera. How does that look? All right, we're gonna get started. Let me just make sure everything's straight here. All right, I think we're good. So it's kind of been a slow. It's kind of been a slow weekend as far as technology goes, right? I mean, I've seen a couple of stories in regards to the reviews of the Oppo Find X9 Ultra and X9 Pro, because those are two devices. It's okay? All right, good. Sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, man, I can't remember the channel I was watching or who did the review, because that's the thing. If you want to get, and we're going to get to Oppo and some other Chinese manufacturers, because I have a story here that's very interesting. But before we get to that, this may be the last Oppo quote-unquote flagship phone for the next couple of years. I know I mentioned that a week or two ago, but I continually am seeing more stories in regards to that topic, and Apple's directly involved. But going back to Oppo, if you're interested in getting, or if you're somebody like me that I think I want to get one, but which one should you get? Now, the Oppo Find X9 Ultra just launched, but there's also the Oppo X9 Pro. The Pro looks like a OnePlus 15. It just has upgraded camera sensors, but it also has the MediaTek 9500. That's MediaTek's top of the line CPU, right? The Ultra X9 Ultra has the top of the line cameras. We all know that. Number one best camera phone in the world. But it also has the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Now, first thought, you're like, well, the MediaTek should be fine, right? With the Pro? Well, yeah, when it comes to benchmarks. But I was doing some digging around the other day, and here's an interesting thought or some interesting information if you're interested like I am, and I'm just passing this along. So the X9 Pro that has the MediaTek 9500, it's using a MediaTek modem connectivity between your carrier and your network services. Like you put your T-Mobile SIM card in there, and it'll run fine on the T-Mobile SIM card if you use the Pro here in the United States. There's tons of people, even some of our subscribers have the Pro and says it runs great on T-Mobile. But there's a little piece of information that nobody talks about that I want to bring forward to those of y'all that are maybe considering getting the Ultra, or should I get the Pro? The Ultra, I think, starts out at $1,499, $1,500 freaking dollars, while you can get the Pro at about $900. I just looked last night, and that's on Swappo. So that's a $600 difference. Now, camera-wise, I'm going to get back to the modem. Camera-wise, I was watching his review, and it's really not that much of a difference. In fact, there's some situations, some shots, some lighting, some environments where the Oppo Find X9 Pro, the OnePlus 15 lookalike, actually took a couple better photos. Now, where the Ultra beats the Pro is in video. Now, it doesn't blow it away. I'm not saying the X9 Pro is trash when it comes to video, because certainly not that. It's just the Ultra is that much better and knows even better. Remember, it has a pair of 200 megapixel sensors on there. So the video is like freaking outstanding. So when it comes to my thought after watching the review, because it necessarily wasn't a specs review, it was a camera review between the Ultra and the Pro. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Basically, the Ultra sits on top of the DxO Mark scores, meaning it's the best camera, still photo, and video. However, the Pro is at like number 4, I think. So, I mean, if you want to split hairs, yeah, you can go with the Ultra and have an Ultra experience. But if you want to go with the Pro, you can essentially get the same experience, maybe minus 1 or 2 very, very specific situations where the Ultra would beat the Pro. But look, I think everybody's going to be perfectly fine with the Pro. But here's something nobody's talking about, and you're only probably going to hear it here, because these things specifically affect me. Now, getting back to the modem, the Oppo Find X9 Pro modem, the MediaTek modem, it does not get... Okay, let me put it this way. It only goes up to release 17 when it comes to T-Mobile's specific network services that they offer. T-Mobile just came out with their brand new, well, I'll say just, it's probably been like 6 months. T-Mobile came out, as you know, if you've watched this channel, with their all new 5G network. It's a 5G based network. And actually, to my surprise, we've been, what the hell is this cat doing? We've been in a 5G world for the last 10 years. It's technically, in the last 10 years, it's technically not 5G. It's on a 4G node, but they just pumped it with steroids so much and pumped up the network, they called it 5G. But T-Mobile came out with a true first 5G network, all new network, maybe about 6 months ago, and only a very specific processors are able to get that release number 18. That's what they call it inside the industry. Release 18. What is it? 3GP release 18. That's the standard that of T-Mobile's 5G network. That's the standard that these modems have to enable inside the modem for that specific phone to connect to said network's 5G compatibility. AT&T just came out about 1 or 2 months ago with their true 5G network. And again, it requires the release 18 standard 3GP network. So I'm getting to the Oppo Find X9 Pro with the MediaTek CPU, with the MediaTek modem, does not get T-Mobile's new release 18 3GP standard network. Now, I'm sure it'll say 5G on your notification bar. It'll say 5G UC, and it's connected to that. It's not lying to you, but it does not get T-Mobile's new 5G network. I could not believe it myself last night. I did all the homework, everything I could find online. I even went on MediaTek's website, dug through the press release with the MediaTek 9500, and I also cross-referenced 3 separate websites to dig through the details to see, because I am seriously considering getting the Ultra, and that's why it led me down this rabbit hole last night of, well, do I really need the Ultra? Well, I should be just satisfied with the X9 Pro, right? And then I was like, you know what? Before I pull the trigger or buy anything, let me just double check, because I could have sworn MediaTek's 9500 would get T-Mobile's new 5G network. It doesn't. So if you're somebody like me that lives in a dead spot, and look, my power, what the hell? My power, my Wi-Fi, everything went out maybe about a week ago for about 24 hours. Boy, do I need that network. Now, not all the time, because when I'm home, when the power's on, when the Wi-Fi is working, everything's great. I don't even notice anything. But when I'm leaving and entering the neighborhood, or the power goes out for whatever reason, boy, you sure can tell 5G. If you have a device that connects to T-Mobile's true 5G network, it makes all the difference in the world. And I've made numerous videos about this before and after T-Mobile switched to the 5G network. And that's a bummer, quite frankly, because now I don't want to use a device that does not get T-Mobile's new 5G network, if you know what I mean. And you probably don't know what I mean if you don't live in a dead spot. If I lived anywhere else, even just a football 100 yards away, you get great T-Mobile 5G network. There's no dead spot. It's literally a 100-yard radius around where I live. We moved here like 15 years ago, right? 4G was still a thing. I don't even think 5G was out then. So who would have figured, right? I mean, buying relocating now, of course that would be a determining factor. But it now I'm gonna have to cross off the Find X9 Pro. I mean, the chances of me really depending on that are actually really small, very small percentage. It's just the fact that in the times you really need it, it makes a big difference. So I don't know if anybody's interested, but I was going down that rabbit hole last night, really digging through the specs and saying, well, if I get the Pro, I know it's been out for like 6 months, but if I get the Pro, would I really be missing out on the Ultra, everything the Ultra brings to the table? Actually, the X9 Pro gets much better battery life than the Ultra. It just does. Now, what devices are enabled for T-Mobile's new 5G network, and I'm assuming it's the same thing with AT&T because it's kind of based on the same technology. Well, you have to have a device that has a Snapdragon 8 Elite or higher. So it's Snapdragon 8 Elite, Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, like the Motorola Signature, the Motorola Razr Fold, or the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, or an iPhone 17 and up, meaning 17 series, all of it, the Air, the regular, the Pro, the Pro Max, they get that new network. And then obviously with every device coming out in the future, we'll get it. Now, I looked into MediaTek to find out, well, when are they going to implement this? Apparently, they're going to implement in the MediaTek 9600, their upcoming flagship CPU. Apparently, they're expected to upgrade the modem in there to enable access to the release 18 3GP standard. So, yeah, no, I'm not talking about. Yeah, I know you can get 5G, and that's what I was saying before. But if you dig through the specs, the Oppo Find X9 Pro, the MediaTek 9500, the modem in that CPU, if you gotta go a couple steps further than just Googling or doing research to see if it gets T-Mobile's 5G network, because technically it'll say yes. Everything online will say yes, but you have to go on the spec sheet and see what standard that modem goes up to. If you look online and you go through all the details, the MediaTek 9500 modem only goes up to release 17. That's the highest standard it goes to. T-Mobile's new 5G network is on release 18, and the MediaTek 9500 modem does not go to release 18. So it'll say 5G. It gets 5G. It gets 5G UC, but not the latest and greatest T-Mobile 5G network. Now, that's only on the MediaTek. On the Ultra, the Oppo Find X9 Ultra, that goes up to, it has the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That goes up to release 18. So it will get it will get T-Mobile's new 5G network. So there's that for you. So I'm trying to weigh, is it worth an extra $600? I think I know the answer. It's probably no, but just interesting. Or you could even do this. You could even wait for the Oppo Find X10 Pro to come out. That'll have MediaTek's new 9600 CPU and modem and will get release 18. So I think we're about, what, 5-6 months away from that, I believe. I think I saw some leaks in regard to what I think I've seen some leaks in regards to the new X10. They've already started to come out. Let's see here. Any OLED laptop models or brands you recommend? Yeah. So I was just looking at them. It depends on, here's what you have to ask yourself, honestly, is what CPU you want to go with, and then you can kind of go down that route because it matters a lot. I would recommend, at this point, last year, up until the release of the new Snapdragon ARM chipsets, I would not recommend the Snapdragon, what are they? I always forget. Their naming scheme is so jacked up. I keep on forgetting the name of their first gen ARM chipset that goes in laptops. The Snapdragon, maybe y'all can help me. It's the Snapdragon X, I don't know, but they're on their second generation right now. I had two laptops that were on Qualcomm's first gen ARM chipset in laptops. I had the Samsung Galaxy, what is it, Book 4 Edge. It died on me on day 2. But I also had the HP OmniBook X. And remember, some apps, some programs would not work. Google Keep, for whatever weird reason, Chrome would work, but Google Keep would not work on ARM chipsets. Now, they've gone through the speed bumps. They've corrected everything. They've optimized it. And now everything works on Qualcomm second gen ARM chipsets. So you can always go that route, and they get phenomenal battery life and really good performance. But Intel just came out with Panther Lake. That changes the game. That's x86, but it's more kind of leaning towards ARM chipsets as far as the architecture. They're phenomenal chips. In fact, that's the main reason why well, not the main reason, but we're going to get into it. That's one of the reasons why their stock is blowing up. I told y'all, remember I told y'all, I said I was going to buy stock at $20 a share. I didn't. I told you I was going to buy stock at $40 a share. I didn't. And I told y'all last week when it was at $80 a share to buy stock, or that I was going to buy stock. I did. It's at 100. No, it's continues to go up because the products they're making are mind-blowing. So it depends on AMD not looking too good right now, but just like Intel, they'll come back. It's just they're getting AMD. I'm not going to say obviously they're not trash. I just think Intel is on an incline as far as their technology. Qualcomm, they're on an incline as far as their technology. AMD, and I've been an AMD user for years, but I just made the switch to Intel this last year. So getting back to your question, do you want to go with the ARM chipset or do you want to go with the x86 and Intel? And there are a few good options in both of those segments. Now, since I made the switch to an OLED laptop, since I made the switch to a 120 hertz laptop, I'm never going back, ever. And that's why I hated the freaking MacBook so, well, not the only reason. It's like slow as molasses. I don't know how people do it. Apple is just cheating their customers left and right because they can, because the customers are brainwashed. Oh, I got to get the latest MacBook. Why? It's like, I'm not going to get started. Trust me, if you use a laptop or go to Best Buy, try out one of the laptops, make sure it has an OLED display, make sure it has 120 hertz refresh rate just like your phone. It's just like using a phone. It's absolutely amazing. That's what I love about Qualcomm, their chipsets, their ARM chipsets. They are snappy. I can tell a noticeable difference using an ARM chipset between an x86 chipset. It's just like using a phone. And I don't want to go back. Like, why would we go backwards when all this stuff is so good moving forwards? It's like, it would be like you going back to a 60 hertz display and using an LCD display. Like, what? Like, why would I do that? Exactly. So I recommend, I have HP Omni. Actually, is it plugged in? No, it's not. HP OmniBook. It's a 14-inch OLED 120 hertz LTPO display, but it's a flip. See, so I can use it in tablet mode. It has a pen, like a stylus, like an S Pen that goes with it. Beautiful. Look at this. Look at this navy blue. Beautiful display. I recommend the HP OmniBook. That's what I have. I recommend it. Now, it's really good for somebody like me, very specific reasons. For content creators, they have pre-programmed. There's not a lot of bloatware, but it has what is it called? Poly Studio, and it has like a built-in program for content creators. It has a studio where you can record and do all sorts of stuff. It's very cool. It has its own AI suite. I think the battery's dead. There we go. But I would say HP. Samsung just raised the prices on theirs, so I don't know if I would do Samsung. You can always do a beautiful display. You can always Asus. I think Daniel, who's a longtime subscriber, he just got the new Asus laptop with the ARM chipset with Qualcomm second gen chipset. He said he likes it. Who else? If you go on their website, obviously you can go on Best Buy's website, you can go to Best Buy, but go on Qualcomm's website and look up their chipsets. They have a list. Find their ARM chipset. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of their new second gen chipset. Go on their website. They have a long list of computers from all companies that use their second gen chipset, and you can kind of pick between them. But HP just came out with their Panther Lake version of this. This is the version, this is about 9 months old. This is the version right before Panther Lake. So I was actually looking the other day to upgrade to a Panther Lake. But this has Wi-Fi. The specs are freaking awesome. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, Gen 5 PCIe in NVMe. It's just phenomenal. It has 32 gigs of RAM at like 8700 megahertz. Like, it's just blazing fast. There's a huge difference between a $500 laptop and a $1,200 laptop. Just, it's night and day. But if you plan on getting one, I would get one probably sooner than later, because as we're going to get into these stories, the RAM prices are raising the prices for the consumer, and Samsung just raised their prices hundreds of dollars on their laptops. I'm like, well, damn, who's going to buy that now? Like, it literally went up. I think their base model was like $1,200 last year. Now it's like their base model is like $2,000. It's like, what the hell is going on? So I guess to answer your question, Asus has a brand new laptop I would look at with the Qualcomm chipset, and then HP has an OmniBook like mine, but with the Panther Lake chipset. And you can get it in the X3, or what do they call it? The Flip, where it turns into a tablet, or you can just get it in a traditional laptop. But we're going to get into this story. I want you to hang around, and we're going to get to it in just a second, that you're going to want to pay attention to if you're interested in getting a laptop. You don't think it's worth the extra money? Oh, you're talking about the Oppo? Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I think I kind of convinced myself last night when I'm going through the whole T-Mobile 5G thing. Yeah, it does. It does have the best. The Oppo Find X9s Pro is a smaller premium flagship you might want to look into. And OnePlus, well, the Oppo Find X9s is a global model. It's a smaller phone. I think it's 6.39 inches. So it's not teeny tiny, but it's not big. It's like medium sized. And then obviously the S26. What else is there? I was just going to say another phone, but I forgot. OnePlus, the OnePlus 15T. Now, I don't know if that's global or not, though. I can't remember. Is it the X Elite? Yeah, that's what it was. Same reason I kind of do MacBook Air. I'm telling you, man. And you know the thing, you know how they have these Apple people by the freaking throat, Apple and their customers, is because their customers won't try anything else. It's like longtime MacBook users. They don't know what using a laptop OLED is like. They don't know what using 120 hertz is like. They don't know what touchscreen is like. Like, what the hell is that? That MacBook I tried out for, I don't know, a few weeks. I kept on finding myself touching the screen, because sometimes I'll just rest up here like this, right? And then I'll just kind of flip through it like a phone, or I'll touch the screen or do, long press. Man, it's a pain in the ass. Man. Isn't Windows more prone to sudden crashes and lags? Mac OS offers higher stability due to its curated ecosystem. Maybe, but I haven't experienced that. To be honest with you, I've never had a crash. My mini PC got burned out, but actually I'm using my mini PC. It turned on the other day. That's what I'm streaming from right now. But no, if you get a premium flagship, I think those crashes in the past were due to insufficiencies in memory. And I think computers just get locked up. Windows is a heavy operating system. The only thing I don't understand is why you go for a Chinese-made phone when you were saying that our federal government uses. Because they're so good. Now you can still buy one and still use it and still receive updates. The only thing that is a possibility that you need to be worried about in the United States is I guess there's a very small probability of this happening, but what I was saying is, what if the FCC goes to our Federal Communications Commission, what if they, who controls all the electronics here, and what if they go to the carriers and say block all service that goes to IMEIs of Chinese phones? Could it happen? Yes, but chances are it won't, but it could. So of course I'd be taking a chance. And if that did happen, I would just sell my phone on eBay or Swappa, or just hold on to it, because that's not going to last forever. But it's so good that I'm willing to take that chance. And again, I don't think that'll happen, but it could. Now, if you buy one, not from Oppo's, if you live in the United States, you cannot buy one from Oppo's website. You got to go to eBay. You got to go to Swappa. That third-party retailer will ship it here. They just don't allow the companies to ship their phones here. And if you do get it shipped here, you still get updates. Everything will work as normal. So, it is what it is. Maybe it's taking a risk, but it's a small risk. Now, getting back to getting back to Windows and crashing. So here's a story that I have. I linked my Substack in the description box down below. So every day, well, not every day, but I'm trying to every day, put out little short headlines, technology headlines for the day on my Substack page. And I got 4 stories, all directly or indirectly attached to memory. Now, you bring up a good topic as far as Windows, so check this out. So Windows here's a story. Microsoft recommends 32 gigs of RAM for a no compromised, it says I just said gaming experience, but let's be honest, for a no compromised user experience, right? I don't game. I haven't played games since I was a little kid, video games. But I need a lot of RAM for, I got tons of Chrome profiles, and each profile has a ton of tabs open. I have Canva open. I'm making videos, thumbnails, light editing, all that open. If you had 16 gigs of RAM, it might be a little sluggish. 32 is the sweet spot, and now Microsoft is recommending that. Now, that sucks for the consumer because you do have to spend a little extra money to get a 32 gig variant. That sucks for the consumer because there's not as many 32 gigs of RAM models available as there is 16. If you go computer shopping right now, almost every machine, minus Apple, every Windows machine, desktop or laptop, it will be 16 gigs of RAM. That's like the standard. Remember, years ago, you used to always see 8 gigs of RAM. That used to be the standard. There's a ton of 16 gig RAMs. In fact, when you go looking for computers, filter out the search results. Make sure you select 32 gigs of RAM and then hit search results, and it'll pop up with a list of devices that have 32 gigs of RAM. I'm a firm believer. That's like when I got this, I had to have 32 gigs of RAM, this HP OmniBook, because I don't want any slowdowns. I don't want any lag. I don't want anything closing down prematurely or in the middle of my work. I'm building websites. I'm on Canva. I got Chrome tabs open. We're at the point in time where you need a lot of RAM. Hey, Daniel, what's going on? Hey, we were just asked about good laptops today. And I said, you just got the Asus. I remember you saying that. I forgot the name of it. But I said, I thought you liked it. Let us know if I'm wrong. If you still like it, maybe they should look at that. It says, if you're looking for a fully spec Samsung Galaxy Book, Ultra or Pro 32 gig, they are overpriced, but they offer up to $1,200 for student discount. No trade-in. Interesting. I didn't know that. I wonder if I could use my daughter student discount. I've been looking to get one. Damn. I'll look into that when we get off here. I will certainly look. Thank you for that information. Asus ZenBook. Yep, that's what it is. ZenBook 16 X2 Elite is amazing. So if you're looking for a new laptop, go check that out. I was looking at that the other day, and the new HP OmniBook with the new X2 Elite. Pretty amazing. And those all have OLED displays, 120 hertz refresh rates. It's just amazing. And for the life of me, I don't know why people like MacBooks, but whatever. A16. Yeah, the 16 incher. That's a nice size. Man, that's a nice phone. Oh, excuse me, phone. That's a nice laptop. maxexposure.ru. Interesting. Okay. I will make a mental note of that. But getting back to this, so Microsoft is saying now that 32 gigs is essentially the baseline for a no worries user experience. Microsoft is saying that with multiple applications, browsers, communication tools running at the same time, games, it's a lot of RAM, right? So they recommend 32. I don't know at what point in the future they're going to recommend 64. I think it's going to be a while. 64 is over. I even thought of getting a 64, and I remember that dilemma. I was like, should I go with 64? And then when I did my research online, 95% of people were like 32 is enough, and so that's why I did go with 32. Now this was before Ramageddon, before the prices shot up, and it's easy for Microsoft to recommend 32 gigs. It's easy for me to recommend 32 gigs. But if you're out shopping around, it's not so easy. Now, I purchased my RAM. Now this came with the RAM. It's soldered in. That's why I had to have 32, because there is no upgrading the RAM on here. I came with a Gen 5 PCIe, and that's badass. But if you're buying a bare bones unit, say like a mini PC, man, I feel the pain, because buying sticks of this RAM is eye-watering. It almost makes you want to cry how expensive stuff is. So that's why it's nice when potentially looking for a new laptop. Make sure it's because most of them now are not upgradable. Let's be honest. Make sure it has enough RAM when you go to purchase it, because you do not want to go down that road where I just got a 16 gig because it was $100 cheaper, whatever. You're going to be kicking yourself if you plan on holding on to it for 2, 3, 4 years. You're going to be kicking yourself halfway through that lifespan, because there's nothing like running into memory issues and then having a machine where you can't upgrade it, because then you got to go look for a new machine. The only things that had compatibility issues with the X2 Elite ARM64's virtual machines, SQL, and some games. Otherwise, everything runs better than x84. Yeah, and that's what I was telling earlier in the stream. I think they ironed out most of their, because when I had that Galaxy Book 4 Edge, and I had the HP OmniBook Flip, there were some weird, just random stuff that wouldn't work. At that point, they had most stuff ironed out, but there was one or two programs. CapCut, which I use a lot, and Google Keep would not work. So I was like, probably not ready yet. So it looks like they ironed out most everything. And the good thing about Qualcomm, there's updates quite a bit. I mean, there was a month where I had 2 updates, I think, in 2 weeks. So they're continually updating these things. So they're working on it. They're not just selling you something and then they're dipping. No. They're selling you something, a good product, and they're continually supporting it and updating it, making it better. So you should have confidence in Qualcomm. If something that you use on their program that doesn't work, hang on, they will straighten everything out. So Microsoft recommends 32 gigs. Yikes. Yikes. Now look at this. I watched a what was it on? MSNBC, or was it one of the money channels? Is it damn, I can't remember. Or was it What the freak was it on? Did I write it in here? Anyways, it was one of those money, CNBC Money or whatever. I saw an interview with Micron. Their CEO, Micron, is a big memory manufacturer. I'm sure at some point you've used some device with a Micron chip in there, memory chip. Very interesting interview. It was about 5, 6, 7 minutes long. I guess I need to link it in here. But he was saying we're not even at the point of where the supply meets the demand for memory, because long story short, and we're going to get to Apple and what they are doing. Wait till you hear what Apple's doing. But Mike, the CEO of Micron, was saying that these AI data centers are consuming, they're buying up as much RAM, as much memory as possible for their data centers. That's why it's they store data, right? In AI uses the data from these data centers for their LLMs. Well, that's taking memory away from computers. That's taking memory supply away from phones. And you can see where that kind of causes a problem, supply and demand. He was saying we're not even close to the point of where supply meets demand. He was saying at the very earliest, you're looking at 2028, possibly 2029, where the supply will meet the demand. The demand for this memory is so high. Everybody needs memory. Apple, Samsung, well, they kind of make their own, but you get it. These data centers, X, Twitter, they have huge data centers. They need memory. And these manufacturers that manufacture this memory, TSMC, they're at their limit when it comes to manufacturing. They can't build fabs fast enough. Samsung's popping up another one just about 45 minutes away from me in Austin. It's amazing. Now, these new fabs are trying to be built as fast as possible, but it takes time to not only get them built, but to start producing products, start producing chips. It's a big issue. Now, how does that apply to us? Well, that means this whole memory thing is the rise in the cost is going to be around for a couple of years, maybe a few years. So very interesting interview. I got a lot of good, useful information out of it. And it just reminds me to remind you, if you're interested, and I think I said this about 6 to 8 months ago, if you're interested in getting new storage device or possibly a new laptop, the price increases have begun. So I think the sooner you buy something, the better, meaning prices could even go higher here, I don't know, in the next 6 months, 8 months, year. So I fortunately got lucky. Even before this whole Ramageddon thing happened, I purchased sticks of RAM. I purchased, actually running it right now, another Gen 5, 1 terabyte PCIe. So I got lucky. I didn't know this was going to happen. I just purchased it before the increase happened. But keep that in mind. The prices are going up and it sucks. But it looks like it's going to be a while before they come down. So possibly 2030, another 4 years before this happens. Now, Intel, I did mention Intel at the very beginning, and I'm not going to bore you to death with this new technology that they're coming out with, but the shortage in memory, and this is why their stock is blowing up. Not the only reason, because Panther Lake and 18A node and 14A node has something to do with it, but this also has something to do with it. So the shortage in RAM is making these companies like Intel look for other options, right? It's like they can't make RAM and memory fast enough, so why don't we make a new version of memory that we can mass produce? And what do you know? Intel went to the lab and they came up with something that is simply amazing. So if you dive into this, it's really, really spectacular with what they came up with. This is a new Z-angle memory. Now, obviously, RAM is random access memory, but this is Intel's brand new Z angle memory. It's an emerging memory standard developed in collaboration with SoftBank. If you remember Sprint here in the United States, SoftBank purchased Sprint. They're in the tech world. They investment firm, investment banking. They saw Intel's foresight and thought we want to invest. And boy, I think that was a good decision. So this aims to challenge high bandwidth memory HBM in the high performance AI and GPU sectors. This is going to help ease the supply, and you might start seeing this in future products. So ZRAM is designed to offer significant advantages over current high bandwidth memory. It has and it has a potential to double the bandwidth of current high bandwidth memory 4. It also has the ability to store a greater memory capacity in the same space, kind of like silicon carbon batteries can hold more ions of energy inside that same size of battery, right? So it's kind of the same thing. It also has improved thermal management, meaning it doesn't get as hot. It doesn't heat up as much. Now, this new memory standard features a 9-layer stacked design with thin silicon substrates and advanced interconnects, promising a capacity of 10 gigabytes per stack and a remarkable bandwidth of over 5 terabytes per stack. 5 terabytes per second per stack. And it's interesting, they call it ZRAM, Z angle memory, because the way they stack it looks like a Z. Again, I'm not going to bore you to death, but just an example. Wanted to bring this forward to let you know what Intel is doing. This is one of the reasons why their stock is blowing up. I've been watching them for the last year very, very closely, and what they're doing is absolutely amazing. Their turnaround is historic for the company. They've never had they've never had a month like last month. So let's go to Apple, because this directly affects phones. And remember, we were talking about the Oppo Find X9 Ultra, the Oppo Find X9 Pro. Well, it looks like Oppo Find X9, it looks like Oppo Find X10, the 10 Pro, is right around the corner. But there might not be another one after that. There might not be an X11, an X12, an X13 from Oppo because of Apple. Or a Xiaomi 17, or excuse me, a Xiaomi 18 Pro or 18 Pro Max. So check this out. I think I mentioned this last week, but didn't go into detail. So Apple is RAM hoarding. They're buying up as much memory as possible now for 2 reasons. One reason is for their own devices, right? They sell hundreds of millions of devices, phones, iPads, even MacBooks a year. If you combine all their products that use memory into one sales total for the year of, 2025, it's in the hundreds of millions, right? So they, out of a few major companies, probably one of the highest purchasing RAM consumers, company-wise, out there. So again, they're buying up as much memory as they can find for 2 reasons. For one reason, for themselves, I would just mention the high volume of sales that they have. For the second reason is to put their competition out of business. Wow. Yeah, they're doing that. So Apple is reportedly buying up as much LPDDR5 memory as they can find, creating a shortage on purpose that impacts competition and allows Apple to maintain its iPhone prices without raising the price. This aggressive procurement strategy, coupled with Apple's efforts to freeze product prices, is forcing Chinese original equipment manufacturers to reconsider or just say stop on their ultra premium flagship smartphones due to escalating bill of materials. So if Apple, now remember I mentioned this last week, Apple negotiates their prices in memory like the airlines do for their fuel. Remember, the airlines will buy, they know exactly how much fuel they use. And even if they can negotiate the next 6 months or a year of fuel with these fuel manufacturers and save 10 cents a gallon or 13 cents a liter or whatever they do it by, you're saving hundreds of millions of dollars purchasing at a fixed price. Well, Apple's doing that same thing, but with memory. They might be a little expensive now. Apple might be buying memory at a little over market price right now. Yeah, but in 8 months, the price could freaking double again. And Apple looks really smart 8 months down the road because they're just paying a few percentage over what they're paying now instead of paying double 8 months from now. See what I'm saying? So while everybody else is paying double. So it's a very rare position to be in because not many companies can do this. I mean, you have to, all that money that you negotiate these prices, these deals up front, you got to pay these the memory manufacturers up front, meaning you got to have a ton of liquid cash on hand to pay up front, right? Well, it's all negotiated, right? It could be a half now, half in 6 months, but you get the idea. It costs a lot of money. In a smaller company, and I say small, like Oppo or smaller than Apple, Xiaomi, they really don't have the purchasing power, right? It's kind of like Walmart. Their prices are kind of cheaper than everybody else because they buy in volume. Same kind of idea. Well, if Oppo is paying $100 for their memory in these phones now, well, what if they have to pay $200? What if they have to pay $300? Right? So reports suggest Apple is signing long-term agreements with memory vendors, further solidifying its control over the memory market, while Samsung is also noted to be participating in this market sweep as well. The situation leaves the high-end smartphone market increasingly open for Apple and, to some extent, Samsung, as Chinese manufacturers struggle to compete with Apple's pricing and supply chain advantages. Check this out. I heard the increase in RAM is causing, now they didn't say which phone company or which Ultra. You kind of read through the lines. I think what they were talking about is the reason why this is such a big deal and why it's a very strong possibility that there might not be an Oppo Find X10 Ultra, right? The X10 Pro, their OnePlus 15 lookalike, that next generation is right around the corner. So Oppo's already got the memory for that. Remember, these phones take 3 to 4 years to, plan out and actually come to fruition. The X10 Pro is going to come out, but I'm not so sure about the X10 Ultra this time next year, or the X11 Ultra a year after that, because it's going to be too expensive. So it's so high just right now that the bill of materials to put together, let's just say an Oppo Find X9 Ultra, is $901. So what does that mean? That means it costs Oppo or BBK, Oppo, it costs them $901 to build one Oppo Find X9 Ultra. That's expensive. They're charging, what is the base price? $1,500. So it's essentially costing them $900 to build, which is, I think, a couple $100 over what it was just a year or two ago. That's eating into their profit. So if they sell a phone for $1,500, it costs them $900 to make. Right? They're only profiting what? $600, when in the past it would cost them essentially like how Apple does it. Well, it depends on what phone you're making. It depends on a lot of things, but typically the number you want to hit is you want to charge double, 2 times what it costs for you to make it, right? So in that case, if you're Oppo If you're charging $1,500 for the Oppo Find X9 Ultra, typically in the past, with past numbers before this RAM thing got and memory thing got out of hand, it would cost them roughly $750 to produce one phone, and then they would profit $750. Again, I'm making it sound easy. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, but roughly, we're just speaking loosely here. But if you take $150 out of that profit, out of that $750 profit, that's not good. And it's going to get worse, right? Remember, it's not going to level off until another couple of years. So what if making these phones, what if it's $900 this year? What if it's $1,000 next year? What if it's $1,100 for them to make each phone? It's just at some point, it's not feasibly possible. It literally does not make sense to manufacture a phone if you're not going to make a profit on it. So that's why you start hearing these rumors that they might take a break from the ultra flagship segment and just come back to it, reproduce it again when the prices come back down. And that's right around, look, nobody knows, but the Micron CEO I was watching the interview of, he said after 2030, the prices should come, well, hopefully they come down. Who's to say they don't ever come down? That's a possibility as well. I hope they come down, but these memory manufacturers are making so much money right now. They may all have some little secret meeting and say, let's not lower the prices. Let's just keep them here. I guess it's possible. I hope that doesn't happen. But in the end, we are the people that get screwed. But look, we might not have many options later. And I say later meaning, and I say options meaning, if Oppo doesn't produce flagship phones for the next few years, Xiaomi doesn't mass produce flagship phones for the next few years, that essentially leaves us with Apple, Google, and Samsung. I mean, sucks, but I don't know. Man, bad times right now. First world problems. I get it, but not good for the end consumer. On the A6, Daniel says on the A16, the 48 gigs, is unified. So I loaded a 30 billion LLM with no issues. Can't do it on my Zephyrus G16 with a 5080 GPU. Holy crap. I didn't know they do unified RAM now. Is that the first Windows machine with unified RAM? Because that's obviously like what Apple does with their MacBooks. And that's why, getting back to RAM in MacBooks and laptops and Windows, that's why on MacBooks it's not a big deal if you don't get a 32 gig of RAM. In fact, I recommend you not, because it's so expensive. You can get away with, I think that MacBook that I had was like 16 gigs of RAM, but it's unified. It's tied in to the system. So and obviously the operating system is different. I get it, but it's just more fluid, tied into everything. So that's why you can still get away with 16 gigs. I think right now I would recommend 24 gigs if you're buying a MacBook or a Mac Mini. I think 24 is the sweet spot, and not 32 like Windows. But you could still use a 16 gig fine. But for what I do, I think 24 would be perfect. I didn't get a 24 gig MacBook a few months ago just because I wanted to test it out, and I had a fear I might return it. But if I ever did get one and keep one, it would have to be 24 gigs. But man, that's interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. I might do that here after the show in just a few minutes. I had no clue. And that's a lot of RAM. 48, especially being unified. I'm hoping that RAM shortage will encourage developers to be more mindful. It has to. Like, something has to. And that's like what Intel did with this new ZAM memory. It forces people to look for other solutions, and I think it's going to force developers manufacturers to look for different solutions, because manufacturers are not operating as usual with this memory shortage, and it's just stunting growth of what would be a flourishing market. Now, I think for as many bad issues as it brings up, the memory shortage, I think the few good things that can come out of this is stories like Intel, right? Where they started a new memory and it's even better than what RAM is. And you see developers really optimizing, hopefully optimizing programs, applications, usage. So hopefully when we get to the other side of this, I think it will progress, hopefully, into a better technology world. Honestly, at least that's what I'm hoping. We'll just have to skip annual releases like nothing. Yeah, and you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly what nothing is doing. Now, we didn't know it at the time. Remember, this was like last year, or was it? Yeah, it was last year. We're like, what? They're skipping? How can they do that? That sounds crazy. But you think about it. Now, we didn't know that at the time, but I think they knew that. They could see this coming. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense. That S25 that I traded in for my S26, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And in fact, S24, a 2-year-old phone, perfectly fine. So, yeah, I think that's exactly what people are going to start realizing. Lightweight Windows laptops like the 13-inch Asus ROG Flow Z13 can go up to, 128. Damn. I had no idea. I don't know why this went right over my head. I had no clue. Now, one thing I do want to look out for, what I think I want to get to see how it's going to be used, is the new Samsung Galaxy laptop with One UI and the aluminum operating system. It's Google's first attempt, well, not first attempt, but to merge Chrome and Android into one operating system. And then Samsung's going to take that and throw One UI on top of that, One UI 9. I can see this either going really well for Samsung or really bad for Samsung. Regardless, I want to try the aluminum OS. Now, it's going to compete against Google. Google's putting out a new laptop with aluminum OS. And honestly, it's probably going to have a similar operating system to Pixel, right? If it's going to be kind of like a mobile type of operating system experience, Samsung's going to throw One UI 9 on theirs. I can see kind of a Pixel-like experience, I think, on the new, and I don't know what they're going to call it. Is it Pixel Book? I have no idea. But I certainly want to get one. I don't know what the price point is going to be at. I probably at this point, I know it's not going to be cheap, but I certainly would like to give them a try, right? I certainly would like to give it a try. But I'm going to have to get out of here. Damn, you're going to have to hit the replay, man. Sorry about that. It's getting late over here, and my wife's texting me to hurry up. So about that time, about dinner time. But I do appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Means a lot to me. And I hope you had a great weekend. And please have a safe rest of the night. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace out. Take care. I'm gonna look into those. I'm gonna look into those laptops right now. Thank you for those tips. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.